Welcome back. Nigeria is dealing with yet another hike in the price of petrol. The recent development comes after the NNPCL decided to terminate its exclusive purchase agreement with Dango Refinery. This now means the NNPCL will no longer be the sole off-taker, and marketers can now negotiate prices directly with Dango Refinery. Now, this development aligns with the current practices for fully deregulated products now, where refineries can sell directly to marketers on a willing buyer, willing seller basis. Thereafter, the NNPCL raised the retail price of petrol at its own filling stations now to 1,030 naira from 897 naira per litre across its retail outlets now in the country. Now, back in September, NNPCL had claimed that it was buying petrol from Dango Refinery at 898.78 naira now per litre and selling to marketers at 765.99 naira now per litre, shouldering a subsidy of almost 133 naira per litre. However, the company says this arrangement is no longer sustainable. So the new increase, the third this year alone, amid soaring inflation and food cost, as well as battered currency now, is making people complain. In response now, citizens have actually, I should say, in response to the citizens' complaints now, the Minister of Information has implied that the federal government has nothing to do with the price hike, adding that government should not be held responsible for the increase. Citing provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, the Information Minister says the government can no longer fix the price of petrol. On its part, the Senate now has assured Nigerians that it would assess the current increment in the prices of fuel in the country and intervene only if necessary. Well, joining me now to help shed light on this latest hike in petrol is oil and gas expert now, Bode Shoumi. He joins us from Abeokuta. Bode, thank you very much for coming on the program. Help us to understand this explanation that the NNPC has given for this latest hike in the price of petrol.
Okay, so I'm not sure they've given much of explanation. What they've basically said is that it is the government is not involved, and the government issuing that statement through the Ministry of Communication is also trying to do a technical separation of entities. That's to say that the government is totally different from NNPC. But to the meat of the matter, what they're basically doing is that they are basically executing to its letter the policy of deregulation and withdrawal of subsidy. Now, one of the key components that determines the final price, I mean, there are a number of them. There's the crude oil price, there's transportation. Another one is the exchange of naira to the dollar. So technically, if you check the price of the finished product, it probably is the same in the last 3 years. What has been changing is the exchange rate between the naira and the dollar. And as long as that exchange rate keeps fluctuating, we'll be having that fluctuation reflected in the price, either upwards or downwards. So those are the things that is at the center of the increment.
But then, now, with the current arrangement where the NNPC sells crude now to Dango Refinery in naira, and Dango Refinery is expected to sell this crude in naira as well, shouldn't there be some kind of stability in the price and probably a reduction, if you like?
So technically, that is correct. But you should not forget that Dangote is a private organization. It's not a public organization. So even if they sell to Dangote in naira, it is the prerogative of Dangote to sell back the equivalent in naira, because it still is responsible more to his shareholders than to the rest of Nigeria. But those who are responsible primarily to Nigerians are government. So, but having said that, to whom much is given, much is expected. It will be, I mean, Nigerians will not be so happy if Dangote is reflecting a price that is not taking into cognizance the fact that they are buying the crude oil in naira. But that remains to be seen. You will recall that as of today, nobody knows at any price that people buy the finished product from Dangote, because they don't officially release it. So what we hear is what NNPC tells us. So when they start to take the crude oil that is naira denominated, if they still don't tell us the final price, we will not really know what is happening. And that is where journalism comes in, where people need to ask those hard questions, where people need to investigate to actually see what is happening. So we should not be confused as Nigerians to look at this thing in a very linear way. In other words, that we have those for Nigeria and those against Nigeria. It's not quite like that. This is an interplay of business people who are trying to get the most for themselves and for their own stakeholders. And in the rest, and the rest of Nigeria is just by part of it. So we need to, at any point in time, get the details of what is happening among all parties so that Nigerians can come to a decision or a conclusion on who and what is actually in their favor in the matter.
Now, help me to understand this. The NNPC says, and the government, by extension, also says, look, that the sale of petroleum product has now been fully deregulated. The NNPC says it extricated itself from that arrangement where it buys from Dangote as a sole off-taker now, where it takes from Dangote and then sells to the marketers, so that marketers are now free to go to Dangote and buy directly. But then you also have the NNPC fixing the price of petrol, even though it can be argued that they fix the price for their own outlets. But then the other marketers are taking a cue from that. So what exactly is going on?
So I do not think NNPC has the powers to fix the price for the nation, nor do I think that is what they are doing. But like any other marketer, at least the downstream aspect, what they are doing basically is to fix the price for their own product. But, and this is where the but comes in, but because they're a dominant player, they are more or less monopolistic in that area. Whatever price they fix for their own products will have reverberating effects in the industry. But I think I heard somewhere earlier today that there are one or two marketers that are selling cheaper than NNPC at the moment. I need to confirm that. So, which will speak to the fact that they are not actually fixing the price. But I mean, if you run an organization and you buy a product at a certain price and you're trying to sell at a certain price, you have to fix a price for it. It's just normal issues, normal dynamics of trade balance. So, but because of their dominance, I think that's why it's affecting it. I think the Federal Consumer Protection Council define a dominant player as any player that has more than 40% of the market share. And I think NNPC does have that when it comes to retail markets. So that's why their price fixation has significant influence. Just like whatever price Dango Refinery fixes for its own product will have influence on what the other smaller refineries are going to fix for their own pricing.
Finally, let me ask you, what do you think can make the price of petrol come down? Because a lot of people had expected that, with the coming on stream of the Dangote Refinery, that prices were going to come down. The same way we're expecting that when the Port Harcourt Refinery also comes on stream, that could bring down the price of petrol. So beyond the issue of exchange rate, what else do you think could bring down the price of petrol in this country?
Well, so let me put it this way. Rice is a commodity. Gold is a commodity. Copper is a commodity. There is an average price to gold anywhere in the world, just like there's an average price to crude oil. Now, it is possible for you to buy crude oil at less than the price that they are selling it. But when that happens, you know that somebody somewhere is taking the cost. So it's either the person that is selling it to you is selling to you as a discount, or the person who is reselling it is selling it at a loss. But the price does not go away. Now, the crude oil itself is a fundamental key and a substantial component of determining the final price of the distilled product, which in this case is petrol. As long as the price of crude oil does not come down, even if we decide to sell it at 200 naira per liter for finished product, the difference between what we are selling it and what the product is going for, somebody has to take it. So if government does not take it, if government takes it, that becomes subsidy, or somebody goes at a loss. So when we are expecting the price of a commodity to sell less than what is the official rate, it is either there's wishful thinking or we are expecting somebody to take that cost. Actually, on the contrary, what is better, and which is where the economists, and because this is not that is not an energy discussion per se, is to allow people to focus on earning more foreign exchange than looking up to government for the solution to everything. Because this was the solution to Britain in the late 70s when they were going through similar policy changes, and China in the 60s and the 70s when they were going through it. So for us as Nigerians, rather than looking to government intervention for every single thing, there is the option for everything that we are doing to actually be sold abroad so that we can earn forex. And I think that will be a positive way forward for everyone to think of.
And it's a double whammy for us, because we don't want the price of crude to come down. In fact, we want it to go up so that we can earn more anyway.
Yeah, which is true. Which is very...
It's a very tough one. But Ishomi, thank you very much for coming on the program, and thanks for sparing us your time.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
I appreciate it. All right, that's how much we can take on the program this week. Well, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.